Welcome to Saathwic Infotech. In today's session, right, we are going to see about EC2. In our earlier session, like we have been seeing about what is cloud and few things about regions, availability zones, and type of accounts, and creating a free tier account, and as well as like how to log into your management console. As part of today's session, we are going to see about like what are the compute services available in AWS. Basically, we are going to discuss about the main two compute services which is available in AWS, which is nothing but EC2 and the Lambda. So EC2 is nothing but similar to your virtual server, whereas Lambda is a serverless. Okay, we will discuss about in detail in Lambda in our upcoming sessions. Today our focus is going to be completely on our EC2 instance. Okay, so when we discuss about EC2, there are few major things which you need to really know about it, right? So something like AMI, which is nothing but Amazon Machine Image, right? So what is this is nothing but a template of your operating system. Okay, and what software needs to be installed, everything has been pre-configured, like kind of, and you can assume this seems to be like kind of an ISO image, right? So and instance type, so instance type is nothing but about your CPU, memory, RAM, storage, and everything, right? So what kind of a graphics you need, what kind of IOPS you need. So basically before we purchase any laptops or any computer, we finalize, right, based on your requirements. You finalize the capacity of the system. For example, if you are going to use for lightweight operations, so you just go with 2 GB RAM and like 250 GB hard disk HDD, and basically we don't go for a graphics card or anything, right? So because that serves your purpose. For example, if a guy who is going to like kind of addicted to the play games, who wants to play games more, which is memory intensive, right? Where you go for high memory, and also like it's again depends on the display. So we go for a graphics card, high end graphics card, right? So based on your requirement, you are going to categorize your instance type, which you are going to discuss in detail shortly. And also we are going to see about like region availability zones, how it's getting into the picture of like EC2. And again key pairs, which we discussed many times, but again we will discuss today too. And few things about security groups, life cycle management of EC2, and instant EC2 metadata, IAM, and load balancing. So basically IAM and load balancing we will see in later sessions, but today we will cover majorly on EC2 part, right? So okay, moving on to the important point, right? So when you look about EC2, okay, AWS has provided us with a basic architecture. Okay, how the connectivity of an EC2 happens from a local user to the remote server. So basically, to speak about EC2, okay, EC2 is again going to be a virtual server which is created on cloud. Okay, if you guys have watched my video from the beginning of DevOps series, that's the main reason where I have hosted our virtual server on our on-prem, which is nothing but virtual box, and shown you and enabled few configurations which allow you to connect from your local computer to the virtual server, right? So similar to that, AWS also has similar configurations which enable you to connect from your local laptops to the remote cloud server. Okay, so where see this picture depicts, right? So you, as a user, you should have a private key to connect to the any machines on AWS. So before you connect, you have to get into the multiple gates, right? So first you need to be reaching out like AWS. You need to know the IP address. So when you click on the IP address, it gets into the AWS major cloud, and then it goes to the region of AWS, in which region, because from the IP address it could able to understand in which region your cloud is hosted, and then in which availability zone the cloud is hosted. Inside that availability zone you will find your VPC, which is nothing but your isolated uh, cloud, right? So basically like if you think about Amazon web service, right? So they provide cloud support for multiple vendors and multiple people. Even we are using our trial account, for example, for if Kumar is using some account, and like someone called Ranjit is using another account. So if you don't have an isolation, so everybody can access their data. There will be interconnectivity, right? So in order to provide an isolation for each and every account, it creates an VPC. Okay, So VPC is nothing but an isolation. So inside that VPC, you will be provided with certain list of IP addresses and everything. Okay, it's similar to your network. You configure in your local network, right? So similar to that. Okay, you will, and we will see that in detail in our when you do about practicals, right? So for now, just understand it's like kind of an isolation for you. So if you want to pass through the isolation from internet, you need it something like, okay, gates. So that is nothing but internet gateway. So whenever you want to connect, it connects through the internet gateway from the external world, and then it allows you to connect to the remote secure EC2, which is in security group. Okay, sorry. So if you look at the EC2 is within the security group. So again, even though you have access to enter to this VPC, again if you want to access this instance, again it needs to be provided an access. So security group is nothing but your local firewall. Okay, think in that way, right? So security group is your local firewall. Okay, let us, without further ado, right, let us jump into the demo session, so that you will better understand. Okay, I have logged into my AWS. Okay, okay, let me spin up an instance. Okay, how do we spin up an instance? If you go to services, you have to go for EC2. Okay, again, EC2 is nothing but elastic cloud computer. Hope you guys are aware of. So for the folks who's very new, EC2 is nothing but elastic cloud compute, which is going to be your virtual server, which is nothing but equal to your virtual servers. Okay, let me try to create a server now. Okay, first we need to provide some names, right? So for my server, I'm going to provide a name like, okay, web server. Okay, so if I want to add any other metadata, so you can add, right? So this is nothing but instance metadata, which is nothing but tags in EC2 or AWS terms, right? If you want to add any metadata, you can keep adding here. For example, why you are, what type of service, server type. The server type is nothing but web server basically, so I categorize it as web. So I might have multiple servers, in which whatever the service is categorized web, I can pull out the report. So basically, if you want, these are like kind of metadata, right? It use to you for easy management. For, okay, let me give you an example, right? For example, when you work on a enterprise, like kind of an organization, right? So every organization will have a departments, like, okay, this will be like IT department, there will be like manufacturing units, there will be like payment and processing, there will be something like procurement, right? So if I want to ensure that, okay, each department are built appropriately, I need to have some mechanism in order to figure out or identify the EC2s which is used by those teams, right? So that's where like our tags comes into picture, where I can say like, okay, type is equal to web, or and I can add like one more tag like department. Like for example, if it belongs to like a procurement, I can use procurement. Okay, then comes like, okay, now I have given a name and I have given a metadata, but now I need to find out what kind of OS I am going to use on the machine, right? The operating system. So I can install like Linux, Ubuntu, Red Hat based Linux. Okay, there is something like Windows, we can go for SUSE, everything, right? So what type of OS we are going to use? As part of our free tier eligibility, we are eligible to use Amazon Linux. Okay, so that's why I am using Amazon Linux. If you are a, if you are as a pay as you go, or if you want to pay like on demand, basically for example, even I can select Red Hat. Okay, if I am selecting Red Hat, I need to pay it, it's not okay, I think Red Hat is also eligible for free tier. Okay, but let's use Ubuntu, sorry, not Ubuntu, Amazon itself. Okay, I think it's free tier eligible, right? Let us use that. Oh, sorry guys, I don't want to go for Windows servers. Okay, now let me use this free tier eligible Red Hat Linux, right? Okay, I have selected that. It's Red Hat Linux 9. Okay, so instance type. So basically for free tier, we have only like T2 micro is eligible. If you are opting for other things, it's not eligible for free tier. Okay, what is an instance type? So as I mentioned earlier a few minutes back, right, instance type helps you to understand, okay, your capacity. Okay, so in instance there is something like family. So family is nothing but T2. Okay, for this how many CPU you will get? One virtual CPU, 1 GB of memory. Okay, okay, free tier eligible. Okay, let me switch to, okay, it's a free tier. If you are not free tier, again you will be charged based on the amount which is given. Okay, there are many instance type available. Okay, let me show you instance types in EC2. See, for example, if you are working on a machine learning project, okay, if you're working on a machine learning project where you need like high performance systems, right? So for that, what needs to be used? So for example, it has been categorized as general purpose, compute optimized, memory optimized, storage optimized, right? So general purpose, if you go, the T2 what we are using is a general purpose system. Okay, what is general purpose is basically balance between your compute and memory. Okay, compute optimized. Okay, for compute optimized, all the series start with C7, C5, C4. Okay, memory optimized. See, compute optimized, you will get more virtual CPU. Okay, the difference is this, it's double. For 4V CPU, you get 8 GB memory. So for C7 large, 8 virtual CPU, you get 16 GB memory. For the same way, if you go for general purpose, let's take T3 for the example. See here, for 2 virtual CPU, you get 1 GB memory. Okay, that's why, right? So it's based on the performance of the system. So you need to understand, like based on your requirements you need to select, as I mentioned earlier. If you're going for like high storage intensive process, then you have to go for high IO ops based systems. Okay, so if you go out to storage, right, you will see these are like high IO ops enabled. Okay, network and operations and everything, memory. So you need to select your instance based on your requirement. So if you are working on like machine learning project, it's memory optimized. So you will keep many thing in high memory. So where you go with this? Basically the processor itself very high memory. If you see, look at the GB RAMs, right? Okay, so something like this. So basically instance type is something which helps you to understand what type of instance you are going to use. Okay. So there is a characteristics how to understand also. If you go through the document pages, you will get everything in the detail. Okay, let us close this out. Let us come to, okay, so for now we are eligible for T2 micro, which is like general purpose. So which I am going to use. So again, key pair. So now see, let's try to understand step by step. Here I have named my web server. Okay, and I categorize like what department is going to be. Here I have selected my OS. Okay, here I have selected what type of configuration I am going to use. Now, okay, once everything is done, how do I log in into the machine, right? So either I need to use username, password, or keeper authentication and everything, right? So by default, Amazon supports keeper authentication only. So there is no username and login concept. So if I want to keeper, I need to generate a new keeper, or if I have any keepers, I can reuse it. As I don't have any keeper, I'm going to create one. Okay, my keeper. So once I create a keeper, the private key get automatically downloaded. You see, right, my keeper got downloaded automatically. So with that I can able to log in. If you recollect the image, you need to have a private key. This is a private key which got downloaded now. Okay, let's look at network settings at the high level, but we are going to focus into much detail in network setting in our upcoming sessions. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, right, so if you want to work on any system, it should have certain network to connect to internet. Okay, so that's where your virtual private cloud comes into picture. Okay, any account in AWS will get this VPC automatically created, or you can even create your own VPC to customize your based on your security recommendations. Okay, for now we are using the default VPC which is allowed to us. Okay, then there is something like subnet. Okay, for now it's like a default subnet in any availability zone is that. Okay, what is a subnet? Subnet is the one which is going to give you under which IP ranges your system will fall in. Okay, maybe probably once after our server is created, you will able to see the subnet which is getting created automatically. So if you open and see the subnet, it will have the CIDR block, CIDR block, which will tell you in what ranges your EC2s will be. Okay, maybe when we create a second EC2, you will see the differences, right? That's fine. So it says auto assign public IP enabled. Okay, this configuration will be enabled in subnet whenever it's getting created. Okay, then as I mentioned earlier, security groups are nothing but a firewall. Okay, which tells okay what are the things can be allowed to access your system, what are the things which is not allowed to access to your system. So in our case, I am going to allow everything, and also I am going to enable HTTPS and HTTP traffic which is not appropriate in your real thing. Okay, I am going to demo you few more things, that's why I am enabling here. You will understand in our upcoming session how to restrict the certain IP addresses or certain group of IP addresses to connect your EC2. For now or to begin with, as an initial stage, you can allow everything. Okay, but ensure in your real time you should not do this, because it creates a vulnerability. It exposes your system to the internet so that anybody can connect and do anything on your system. Okay, then comes the storage. See, now I have a server and everything, right? So now I need to have certain storage where my OS can get installed. So that is, we call it as root mount or default mount, right? Or whenever you install in Windows, the C mount, it automatically takes some amount of storage. So that's why here also by default a mount point will get created that is allocated only for your operating system. Okay, so this will get removed automatically when your system is terminated. Okay, if you want to understand more of this, like what kind of this and everything, click on advanced. So basically you get into a tab called EBS volume. So you are creating one volume of type EBS. So what is this EBS? Elastic Block Store. Okay, so again, about this storage we are going to see in detail, okay, in our upcoming sessions, but for a basic understanding I am giving you. So elastic block store is a type of storage which is available in AWS. Okay, which can be retained. Okay, it's a persistent storage, basically it's a persistent storage which can be retained even after your system deletion. But as I mentioned few minutes back, this particular mount will be deleted automatically. It's because we have enabled a flag called delete on termination. By default this will be enabled for the root volumes. Okay, again, as I mentioned, it's a storage. Okay, like your hard drive or SSD. So what kind of a performance I can expect from my hard drive? What is the IOPS? Because when it is when it comes to storage, it's again comes with an IOPS, input outputs, right? So that's where here we are selecting. Okay, for example, if I select GP2, okay, my IOPS is like 100 for 33,000. If I select GP3, IOPS is 3,000 directly. If I say IOPS provision, which is like more faster, okay, throughput optimized, this size itself not enough. Okay, let me go to GP2, general processing 2. Okay, because that's where like free tier will come into picture, because for other things free tier is not eligible. Okay, whether I am going to encrypt or not encrypt, what is KMS key, everything we are going to see in detail when we work on a separate project. Okay, great. So I don't want to disturb these volumes. Let me go to the simple view. For now, it's going to be a 10 GB size GP2, which is not encrypted root volume. Okay, I am not going to do anything. Let's keep everything default. Launch this instance. Great. Let's go to the instances. Okay, let's wait for the instance to come. It's in pending state, right? You are saying it's pending state. Wait for this instance to come up. It may take a minute or so. Okay, you guys see, right? See, I have created a server. I got a public IP address. I got a DNS name. I got a host type, basically IP type, and also I got private IP. How this all happens? It's all got happened because of your subnet. Okay, again, our IP, our system is up and running now. Okay, now I want to connect to my machine, right? Now I want to connect to my machine. There are three ways basically you can connect to your EC2. Let's see what are those, right? So let's click on connect. First, the EC2 instance connect. Okay, I just click on connect and connect from here. Okay, it's open in the web UI. Okay, failed. SW, okay. Wait, I need to add an SSH. Okay, so basically, okay, connect EC2 browser based client to IPv4. Okay, basically the SSH I need to provide is not allowing, which is failing to connect. So then you can use session manager and then SSH client. So SSH client is the preferred way of connecting. Okay, basically you can connect using instance connect, session manager and SSH client. Instant connect, you need to do few more configurations. Okay, we need to pass the SSH and everything, which I will show you in some time later. By default, we will connect using SSH client. SSH clients, I think we have discussed already. We will use putty or mobile XM in my case, right? So how do I connect? So I can connect to my EC2 instance using this public DNS. Let me copy this. Let me open a new session SSH EC2 hyphen user. I need to select the private key. Okay, this is my private key. Let me give OK. Accept. Okay, great. So now I have an EC2 and everything is ready, which is of like Red Hat. You see, right? RED cats etc. It should have some package called. Oh, sorry guys. Okay, it will have it in dev mount. Okay, great. So we have added only one mount, right? So it splitted the directory based accordingly. Okay, slash is the root basically. CD slash home run. Okay, great. So all the system OSs are got installed under slash and different mount points are created based on it automatically. Okay, great. Now, so clear, clear. Okay. Now, what should we basically do, right? We need to install a web server. So how do you install web server? Sudo. Sudo is nothing but you hope I have explained is to switch to the this will execute the command whatever you are executing as a root. We use m install httpd. Okay, so I am trying to install an httpd based Apache server. Let's see what's happening. Okay, I want to install this software. Great. System ctl start httpd. Oh, shoot. Sudo. I need to start that with root account. Okay. So let's try to connect to this server from our remote machine. Okay, let me copy this DNS. It should open up a Red Hat Linux test page. Yep. Okay. cd/var/ww. Okay. Now I can customize my website. Now I can able to connect to the server. So vi samp maybe index.html insert h1. Welcome to my site. Oh shoot. Okay, great. So as a best practice, right? So whenever you launch an Apache server, okay, it will be owned by root user. Okay, for now I am going to do everything with the sudo privilege. But as a best practices, whenever you launch any Apache server, there are free predefined steps are there where you need to create an Apache user and you should associate all the EC2 user to the Apache group and everything. There are further steps are there. If you have any queries with configuring Apache server, probably you can Google that. Configure Apache server HTTPD in rel. Okay, this will give you the default list of steps, but which I am not going to do anything now. Let me show everything with the manual user. Okay, cd html sudo mkdir my project sudo cd my project. So basically my project is nothing but I am creating a project in Apache server, basically web-based project, and I am going to launch my application from that. Okay, I am in. Okay, why I am not in sudo. Now I am in my project where I am going to create a sample file. Okay, here I am going to have like h1 my website. Okay, okay, great. So let me navigate to this path and see if I can able to access that. Okay. So I am going into my project. Basically, it should show like whatever I created. Okay, this is the index file which I have created there, right? Great. So now I have created an EC2 and I am manually doing all these steps, right? Configuring Apache and everything. So in tomorrow's session, what we are going to do is we will see how do we provide all this Apache configuration and everything inside the EC2 so that whenever EC2 comes up, we should be able to access the website. Basically whatever the website we have, probably I will get some templates, nice templates from internet, so that we will use that template and launch and ec2 and see how it comes up. And also we will see about like security groups, what are the security groups which is getting created and everything. So let me open this server and show you the subnet before we finish off this session, right? So what is the IP address we have? We have 172.31.38.39, right? Remember that 172.31 series. So if you go to subnet to where is VPC? Not here. Okay, let me go to assigned. Yep, here it is. So let me open this in new tab. Okay, my subnet is here. If you look at the subnet, I have a IPv4 CIDR block as 172.31. It start with 172.31. So any EC2 you launch with this subnet, it is going to be 172.31 and something else, because we have given the CIDR block of 20, so the last two thing can change. Okay, and also if you look at the subnet, yesterday we spoke something about region availability zone, right? So if you look at, I am in US East 1. US East 1 is my region, North Virginia. But if you see, my subnet is configured under availability zone 1B. So any EC2 which I create now will get created in 1B availability zone. Okay, this is what I mentioned, right? Availability zone. Okay, so let me show you a few things about your security groups also. Your VPC, sorry, EC2, right? Services, EC2. Okay, okay. So if you go here, you will have a security group. If you see the security group, you will have certain rules configured. Okay, these are the inbound rules, right? So if you go and see it, this is the inbound rules configured, because basically security groups are nothing but firewalls. Okay, it tells who can access your server. So if you look at the security group, SSH is enabled. So from port 22, anybody can connect. 00 is like kind of open, anybody can connect. So using HTTP, anybody can connect. Using HTTPS, anybody can connect to the system. So generally we don't do this. How you do? Basically we select this. Okay. We will edit this configuration and give only ours. Like our IP address alone we will give. Okay, we don't give everything. So for example, edit inbound rules for SSH. Okay, I will say, or also we can say like which CIDR block and everything. And also like if I say which, if I want to use any other security groups rules, or if I want to give like my IP address, I can give. Okay, so everything I can give. Anywhere my IP. If I select my IP, I can just, it takes my IP address. Okay, in this case, right, it's my EC2. Okay, my laptop IP address 183. Let's save and try, right, whether it works. Ideally it shouldn't work. It should have some other internal configurations too. Let me check that, double check. Okay, it still works, right? So now what happens? It will allow only my IP address. Sorry, we did something wrong. I just enabled it for Linux communication. So if I cancel this out and if I try to connect it again, it should connect. Ideally it won't, I guess. Oh, okay, it connected. So see now what happens? It allows only my IP address. So which means it's a little more secured. If someone try to connect from external system, it won't. Okay. So in real time, we will secure everything based on our internal and enterprise wide IP ranges. Okay, so we will configure all our enterprise wide IP ranges in a subnet and we will assign that subnet ID. So everything here. So it's like much more configuration we will discuss in our upcoming sessions. For now, I think we should be good with all these details. Guys, don't forget to delete whatever things are getting created today. For example, you will have your server running, terminate it. Okay, and also you have your own security groups created, delete it, and if you have any subnets created, delete it. We don't want to have those running, so that we don't end up in paying cost to AWS. In tomorrow's session, we will see about like other features of EC2 and how to add the user data part and everything. Okay, and then we will move further with our AWS concepts. Thanks, guys. If you feel this is interesting and helpful, you can share to your friends and like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.